there is a link with suicide and things like mental health, but there's also people that reach suicidal distress that don't have a mental health problem or don't reach out for mental health supports. It may be more linked to housing problems, relationship problems, a range of social and economic problems. So if we don't address that within the strategy and within our approach, then we're really not, in a well-rounded way looking at suicide prevention fully.
If you can fix up or address issues so that people don't go down that path, that's unbelievably important. And it's individual, but it's also very common. So there are common life stresses that for many can cause then a suicidal distress situation. And it's not always about mental illness. In fact, it often isn't. And reaching a suicidal crisis yourself, and I've been in that position, it's not on your bucket list. It's not something that you plan to have, but sometimes life throws curveballs at people.
This is to my perspective, not to the perspective, obviously, of the office or, say, for example, of my other lived experience partnership group members. But I think that there was a recently, the development paper that was put out on the outcomes framework, outcomes map. Unfortunately, we need to look past, not saying that we forget or we move past, the people, unfortunately, that lose their lives to suicide, that end their lives via suicide. But suicide cannot just be treated as or be viewed as suicide is when someone has ended their life. We need to look at suicide as suicide prevention more broadly. We need to okay, we know people are ending their lives. It's distressing. It's sad for those people and their families. How do we move on from that and put, the prevention back in suicide prevention? I've heard a few people say that, but we've got to look at things like we've got to look at, as much as I'm not a political and economically minded person, you've got to look at the economics. You've got to look at education, cultural factors. Suicide prevention can't just exist in health. It can't just exist in mental health. We need to be looking at all the other government departments, organizations. If someone's interacting with another service, organization, or again, I'll come back to the saying, you can't medicate social issues. You can't provide therapy for a social issue. So we need to address the drivers of suicide.